Falling!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Falling!
Hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, hard work, work. There you go.
Falling!
Hard work, hard work, hard work.
Fall in.
Hey, good morning, good morning, good morning. What's going on with everybody? How y'all doing? It's me, Trader Commish, and you rocking with your favorite bets on that's first formation, mornings talk, sports talk. So come on and fall in as we get to talking about a couple of things here and there. As you know, we're in the walk, crawl, walk, run phase, of course, getting the show back in the high gears again. And I got a couple things going on this weekend in which I got to prep up to get ready to go out of town and everything. But I just felt the need to come on today before being a little out of pocket for a bit. So of course, leading off with yesterday's games, there was a lot going on in Diamond, in which the Boston Red Sox took on the New York Mets, in which the Mets got handled not as bad as most of these games. It wasn't a complete blowout, but 6-1 is a convincing win as the Boston Red Sox get the victory, move on to 53-47 for the year, knocking the Mets off by a score of 6-1. The Toronto Blue Jays and the Seattle Mariners faced off yesterday. The Blue Jays edged out the Mariners by the score of 4-3. The Pirates face off against the Los Angeles Angels as Shohei Ohtani homers before his trade deadline, giving the Angels a 7-5 victory over the Pirates. Houston Astros and Oakland Athletics face off. The Astros edge out the Athletics by a score of 3-2. The Los Angeles Dodgers faced off against the Texas Rangers 4-8. Rangers. I'm not going to go any further than that. Come on, D-Town. Let's go. Big Blue. Not D-Town. Chicago's Cubs face off against the St. Louis Cardinals, in which the Cubs was able to put together a 7-run game in-state, win by 5 as they get the victory 7-2 over the St. Louis Cardinals. Minnesota Twins just barely ink past the Chicago White Sox by the score of 4-5. Downline the Braves take care of business over the Milwaukee Brewers by the score of 4-2. Philadelphia Phillies, Cleveland Guardians 8-5 Phillies as Mike Harper continues with some help from the stick, getting the victory in the extra innings. Another extra inning game. The Colorado Rockies take out the Miami Marlins by the score of 3-2. The Baltimore Orioles take care of business over the Tampa Bay Rays by a score of 5-3. Arizona Diamondbacks get the victory over the Cincinnati Reds. Fall to the Cincinnati Reds 7-3 with a 13-hit a game. San Francisco Giants get toppled by the Washington Nationals 6-1, and then last but not least, the San Diego Padres fall to the Detroit Tigers, and the Kansas City Royals go down 8-5 to the Yankees. And that San Diego Padres was 3-1. So no complete blowouts this past weekend. However, there was some convincing wins. So, if you haven't been paying attention, of course, you should know that it's going down this weekend coming up. Of course, just this past weekend, George Kambosos Jr. had his fight where he received a major decision win over Hughes. But it's going down. Bud Crawford, Errol Spence, finally lacing them up and getting them in the ring. Of course, both of our champions they had to do a coin flip to determine who was going to have the walk order, in which it says we have other information that says Haney, who we know has been enthralled in negotiations for his next big fight, even against, which we thought was against a Charlo brother or against Shakur Stevenson. Recently has been allegations or reportings that he's going to be facing off potentially against Tank. That's Javante Davis, as opposed to anyone else. Potentially could be the next big fight. Of course, I'm very sure that's going to anger a few people, especially when Shakur Stevenson has been going to the mat trying to get that fight. So it continues to be to remain what's going to happen. However, Haney is in about with the law as he's facing charges for being discovered to have a concealed weapon. So more to come out in the boxing. Of course, there's going to continue to be a lead up, as we know, this weekend, Saturday, that is, with the Crawford versus Spence fight finally taking place. And I'm very sure plenty of people died in and ready for that to go down and happen. Big Fish Man down. What's going on, Coach Wayne? What's going on? What's going on? So we're going to see where that goes. Moving in, going over to in the NBA. So it's starting to be less and less conversation for the NBA for the most part in the degree until they start to finalize these rosters as the training camps get ready to go swing in. However, there has been a lot of NBA players that are engaged and playing in these summer league games, whether it's the EYBL, the Drew League, the crossover. Just to name a couple of summer leagues I have. Of course, last night, Kyrie Irving finally made his appearance in the Drew League, famous summer league in California, in LA. He made an appearance of where he dropped a triple-double in his first appearance with the Drew League. So it's definitely a whole lot going on when it comes down in that aspect of what it comes down to it. Yes, over the weekend, of course, the sale was approved by the NBA governors, in which Michael Jordan was able to share his majority stake in the Charlotte Hornets for $3 billion. So Jordan initially purchased his stake for the said team for $500 million, just to flip that $500 million 13 years later to $3 billion with the $2.5 billion profit. So these teams, obviously, if you are able to get in a group or put together the ducats, as we would say, as I was coming up as a kid, to put together be in these rooms. Obviously, it is a huge investment, but it is also a lucrative investment. All these individuals who have sold these teams, think about it for a second. Daniel Snyder, who we're going to get to soon, sold his Washington Commanders for $6 billion, right? He purchased the team for $800 million. Sold it for $6 billion, purchased it for $800 million. That's a large investment, but of course, it comes with some I guess you could say it comes with some things, but these teams are big money. So this big game hunting, if you're able to get a team, you start out somewhere. You ain't got to always be in the big leagues. You can start somewhere. Every little situation has its own start where you climb. So another thing, of course, we realize that we aren't all players are not able to continue at the same rate in which they came in, right? So we've seen some of the top names or biggest names in which come into the league, is particularly the NBA, go on to play other places that aren't the NBA. You've seen it with the Steph Marburys. Um, Dwight Howard is now overseas. And there's been a couple other ones who have gone overseas, made a name for themselves, and that becomes their new league, and they go over there and with some type of dominance to a degree. The newest to that addition, of course, is Kemba Walker, as he has signed a 1-year contract to play with AS Monaco overseas. So to extend his career, Kemba Walker continue to play overseas. In which is there any reason to look down upon yourself as a player if you were a top tier player playing in the best league in the world and you're no longer an asset to play in the league, continue to play in the league? Is there a problem? Should a player look down on themselves? Should they feel a certain type of way? Is it just a way to sit up and get yourself going again to where you can probably get a good look and get back in the league? What's the expectation? What would be the mindset of any viewers out there if you were a player that had it, and presumably now you just don't have it anymore, and you feel like you have to go into the league? Currently, there's even the talks in reference, I believe, of Dwight Howard potentially getting a contract where he gets back into the league to utilize for his skills to be utilized in some way, form, or fashion. So all this type of stuff is crazy when you look at it. But would you as a player be willing to make that that leap, that jump, to be like, you know what? The checks aren't coming in here in the league. I've done what I can. That's what some people, at least that's why I say, I've done what I can here in this great organizations. But I'm going to go ahead and take my talents over the water to where I'll probably be a little more appreciated. And then you go. Do you come back if you get that call, or do you go in there and start to establish yourself? Okay, drunk, I hear you. Mindset has got to keep getting this bag, and which is I'm not against that mindset. I can feel you, understand, but true enough, that is the mindset. That is the state of mind, correct? But what is the thought in that? Like, does it go like and that's what you tell yourself. Of course, that's what you're willing to speak on and tell yourself, like, hey, I got to go continue to get this bag. I think I would rather move into coaching than play overseas personally. Okay. To some degree, right? Does it have to be drunk? Does it have to be coaching professionally, or are you just moving to start getting to coaching to where you are now moving up the ranks? Like you're coaching high school ball, or you're coaching AAU, or you're coaching in college somewhere, or are you trying to get on a NBA roster off the rip? What when you say coaching, what level are you willing to take to get, or is the mindset of I'm going straight to the league coach, or are you going to cut your teeth and make your way up to where it's like, okay, someone's looking at you? Like, so it's just a lot of that comes with that. I'm very sure that conversation had with any player that potentially is on the outs and isn't that person anymore, or who isn't getting those type of looks anymore, to where, as opposed to becoming a journeyman, or even the fact that you're not even getting looks at a journeyman, you're not being picked up. Like Derrick Rose, for instance. Derrick Rose continues to make NBA rosters. So it's safe to say that Derrick Rose is a better player than Kemba Walker, to where he has an upside to where people want him in their locker room. They want him on the squad, that they feel like that he's durable enough to be paid to play, as opposed to Kemba Walker. And I'll say the other thing that came up is I think it was basketball. I think it was basketball forever, NBA assistant coach spot, rip off rip. Okay, I see what you're talking about, Grump. The problem with going overseas for a player like Kimba is there's really no path back to the league. And you know what, Jordan, you probably might be right. He's a guard. And then you're saying the guards aren't just like the running back, obviously, which is another conversation we're going to get into before I get up out of here today, this morning. Just the guards are it's starting to be a dime a dozen. Teams are starting to be full on guard. It's the big man, the 3-and-D player, uh, the stretch big man that are starting to be more of commodities in the league as far as positions go. So you could be correct. There may not be any way for him to get back to the league. There's no path for that because he's no longer. He's not hugely sought after when it comes down to to players positions, of course. In which they had it was a meme that I seen the other day that put I think it was six players next to each other, and the caption was, "Who is? How do you number these players best to worst?" I mean, best to worst. And when they played for the Boston Celtics, and it was Rajon Rondo, Isaiah Thomas, Kyrie Irving, Kemba Walker, Marcus Smart. Was there anyone else? I think that was it. It was them five. It was like 1 through 5. Best or worst. How do you number these players? And so I was looking at it as a standpoint of, okay, playing a player in Boston, a guard in Boston, of course, who seemed to be the most. I did not. I'm gonna have to sit and take a look at that, drunk. I didn't. I'll have to take a look at that. I'll have to put that in my notes to take a look at to be able to bring it back. So, hold on one second. I'm good.
Nice to meet you, sir. I'm Pedro Caballero.
Okay.
At the service, I came to run your pest control service.
Okay.
I read something about the roaches.
Yes.
German roaches, the small one.
The small ones, yeah.
The kitchen or what?
It was walked through the living room actually. Sorry, I had to get to the door. So, okay, I see what you say. Drunk Rondo, Isaiah Thomas, Marcus Smart, Kyrie, and Irving. So, I can get down with Rondo. Definitely, he won them a championship. Isaiah Thomas, of course, he was a very good player with them, in my opinion. Okay. Isaiah Thomas was a very productive player with him at that time. I don't understand how he fell off or anything after that. And then, of course, after that, Marcus Smart. I can get what you're saying with Marcus Smart due to he was a defending player of the year. Kyrie Irving for the difference really didn't accomplish anything. I think in Boston, of course, Kemba Walker as well. So I can go with what you say. Your list there of drunk for them, of course. I honestly think Isaiah and Smart could be interchangeable. 2, 3, or 1, or however. But clearly and concisely, Rondo was that point guard for them. Championship point guard. for them and the Lakers, honestly. So I can go with that. What else we got? The Bulls and the Monsoon reached a 3-year, $21 million, $7 million a year as the Bulls continue to build out their roster. Of course, we know what they thought they had in Lonzo Ball isn't where it's at because he has yet to play since he's got over into the Bulls uniform. So the Bulls are, of course, trying to scramble to find the right combination of players to be able to bring them back in some case. So as I'm sitting here thinking this and listening, going over this, for those that's out there that's listening, what do you think? What do you think is key for these teams when they go on with that look good on paper, and as they start playing, everything starts to fall apart? Well, I'm not gonna say that. I completely lost my thought on the question I had. I had a good question. It'll come back to me, I'm sure. Because then, as I started to ask that question, a whole bunch of other questions start coming to play. When you take into consideration, like you just said, Lonzo Ball when he went to when he had decided to go to Chicago, and then of course we know his debacle with the knee injury that has kept him out, and of course Chicago has to shift gears and find players to backfill him and to be able to put together the team, which they won't, of course. And then you have other teams when you have free agency starts that you go after that top player that you're looking for, and then in chasing that top player, that player decides to go to another team or has other things in play, and then you have to go to your plan B, C, or D for the most part. Just like I was looking at the upper smoke shorts, to where Austin Reeves is getting heavy rotation, in which he had a couple of things in which he said. Austin Reeves stated that he turned down being drafted 42nd overall by the Detroit Pistons to take his chances on potentially being picked up by the Lakers. So he went undrafted because him and his agent felt like that he was in his best situation and he needed to go somewhere he needed or wanted, where he think he was going to be the best fit. So you think the Bulls will still be a play-in team even with Lonzo drunk? That could be a hot take. I don't know. I think they had to. They was actually hitting on something before Lonzo went down. Of course, right before Lonzo went down, Alex Caruso went down with the broken tailbone of coax, and so he was out. Then Lonzo went down, and then it kind of like when Alex came back, there was no coming back. So I don't know. Lonzo as a point guard for a team with DeMar DeRozan and Zach LaVine. I think they could do better than 10th. I think they could probably be pushing for that 6th spot, honestly. Then I don't know what it would be like now. Vucevic too? I don't know, drunk. I don't know about that one, drunk. A 10th seed? I think in the East they would have been able to get a little better than a 10th seed. I would give them a little bit better than 10th seed. But yeah, so like we talked about Reeves, he was discussing and saying how he basically turned down the opportunity to be drafted 2nd round, 42nd overall by the Detroit Pistons for an opportunity to play with a team that he felt like he was going to be a better fit, which of course ended up being the Lakers in the aspect. I believe he's a lot better than Kobe White. Honestly, I think Lonzo is better than Kobe White. Kobe, although he did just get an extension, I think Lonzo is better than Kobe White from an overall perspective, because Kobe White was on the squad when Lonzo got there, and they brought Lonzo in anyway. So obviously Kobe wasn't a person, but I think Lonzo is better than Kobe White. Now, how much better, I don't know. because we haven't seen Lonzo play in almost 3 years. But technically, we didn't really see Kobe White play in 3 years either. So, but I think Lonzo is better than Kobe White. So, but yeah, so of course, saying that was a conversation from Reeves, and then he even comes back and double back and sip and gives a breakdown to he during this time frame right before he decided to sign with. Okay, hold on one second. I think another player did the same thing. This draft, Rich Paul told teams don't draft him so he can sign with Milwaukee. It'd be out there like that, just like no different from Damian Lillard's player or Damian Lillard's agent basically coming out and saying don't tell the teams or caution teams about signing Dame Lillard because you're going to be getting an unhappy player. So again, that goes to show potentially in this conversation that it's a players' league. Players hold the will, the power to a degree. Because I could assure you, if I am a player, I'm a GM, and I have the assets to go after a player that I think is going to make my team better. I don't know how much premise I'm going to put into the fact that this player said he doesn't want to, that he's going to be a disgruntled player for the most part. And so I look at it, for me, there's things that the NBA has in place. So if I was to sit up and go and draft, let's say, Dame Lillard, not draft, trade for Dame Lillard, I'm not too concerned about the fact that he's not going to play for me, because what's going to happen is I'm going to get some type of compensation or some set or something from the NBA for this disgruntled player that if he comes to decide he's not going to play, I'm going to get something in which I can utilize to make my team better. And he can get fined or whatever case like that. Or he can come and play because he's a professional. And during that time frame he's playing while he's a professional, additionally, what can happen is he might actually end up, if the tide has turned, he might actually end up liking it where he is. And we might go from there. Okay. Give me 1 second. Okay, sorry about that. But yeah, so that's basically where it's at. And then saying, even continuing the conversation in reference to Reeves on the Upper Spoke, if you haven't seen it, he also stated that he almost did leave the Lakers. He came very close. He said he basically came down where he thought about taking offers from the Houston Rockets to where he felt like he could have betted on himself to continue to extend, or the San Antonio Spurs. So one of those two organizations, as well as being a part of the Los Angeles Lakers organization, which ultimately he chose up on to stay a Laker, to go and instead of pursuing other things. So I look at that like, wow, Austin Reeves in Houston, what could that have been? Okay.
It's not toxic for the food, but it's good and it's toxic.
Okay.
I'm going to prove
Okay. No problem. So basically that put it in potential to where I don't know. I don't know. Would he have been could he have fitted in Houston? Maybe. Would he would have been coming off the bench? Well, I don't know. Houston has a lot of talent. That's it. Not saying that Austin Reeves is devoid of that, but Houston has a lot of different talent, and I don't know if that would have been the perfect fit for Austin Reeves to be in Houston. All right, thank you. I don't know if that would have been the perfect fit for Austin Reeves to be in Houston, but it was definitely a conversation, evidently, because he said that was one of his choices. To go to San Antonio, probably be a key piece in their reemergence, but instantly, often, but in state, it would have been in the West, and it probably would have been hard. So I think his best fit was to come back to LA to continue to grow there, as he had presumably became a third option, even with certain players on the roster. So I think hopefully he made the best choice for him to continue to develop and become. But he always said that he felt like his IQ and his skills was going to be a great fit with LA and in state. By the time he got finished with his first contract, that's exactly what it was. So, saying shout out to Austin Reeves. Sorry, let me see what's other points. All right, so let's get into this conversation real quick before I go to this appointment, right? So the NFL, we know the NFL is technically 7 Sundays. 7 Sundays. What's good, Nico? Good, glad to have information with us this morning, bro. This NFL is 7 Sundays from being in full effect. Back at it again. Of course, last night I was doing my research to see when or how when we're going to start this fantasy, what platform and all that type of stuff. So that information is coming soon. But the NFL is 7 Sundays away from being back in, right? So yesterday, over the course of the weekend, players, veterans, and all type of players have been reporting to training camp to basically get this thing going. Except for in one particular training camp, they are without one of their top defensive players because this player wants a contract extension. What team is that? I'm glad you asked. The Kansas City Chiefs. Chris Jones currently has not reported to training camp. So Chris Jones, of course, has been with the Kansas City Chiefs his whole career. I think it's 7 years, I believe. And so at this point, Chris Jones wants a contract extension before the end of the year. Chris Jones last year earned first team All-Pro nod, 15 and a half sacks for the second time in his career. He wants a contract extension in which he did not report to minicamp, and he hasn't reported to camp as well, training camp. So I wonder this, right? Is it worth it? I guess this is another bet on yourself situation. I was about to say, is it worth it when a player, i.e. like Chris Jones, decides to sit back and hold out for an opportunity to get a contract? Now, Chris Jones is under contract, which means when he misses training camp, he is fined $50K a day for missing training. True that, drunk, but I think it was just I guess it was just like you said a couple of years ago, and he got paid. Because he was a 3-year, because he's been there 7 years, so he probably got it his fourth. I don't know if it had 5th year at the time. He probably got it his 4th year. Here he is in his 3rd year, which is another contract, putting him another contract year, but he's not showing up. So, are you willing to better yourself enough? Because some of these teams are starting to take hard lines. draw a line in the sand. The NFL is not a players' league like the NBA, first and foremost. The NBA is not a players' league. Correct. And sent him on about his way. Is correct. So I don't know. Like I don't see it. I'm not going to, and I understand a lot of it probably comes from the fact that they don't want to, a player doesn't want to get injured and mess up his opportunity to be picked up by another team. They leave what they last did. In this case, Chris Jones, all pro, 15 and a half sacks in the season, 44 tackles. That is a lasting impression for a DN that's only roughly just still under 30 years or a hair over 30 years in the league. But to hold out and mess up my own money, $50K a day, does that get the needle moving for the most part? Especially now, taking consideration they get in camp and they start seeing like, oh snap, we might have some hitters here to where, okay, we're willing to take a flyer on somebody else while Chris Jones is not playing right now. We're not going to pay you. We're going to see if we can trade you and move you. And now you put in the same situation. I just don't know about that. But of course, I'm very sure it's a practice that's been used before and every situation is different. But are you willing to take that risk to where you're going to lose money for an opportunity to try to get more money? Where that comes in at, I don't know. Especially when you look and take in consideration that until you get into the games, you don't know what it's going to look like. So I don't even think I will hold out until I got in there and started seeing what the lay of the land is. I realized like, oh, they ain't really got anything. They really need me. They need me. That's when I'm like, okay, I'm not coming back to practice. Besides that, you're messing up your money. And that's, you know what I'm saying? And maybe that's the piece to where you got to take in consideration. Like, then that's another thing that Trump said. The Chiefs show that everyone is a tradable asset except for Mahomes. And maybe at this time, Kelsey, who, of course, another player added to the Madden 99 club. But, you know, it's just one of those things. Like, teams are in, like we said, I know Bishop always used to say that I would be a shrewd business, but I'm still, just as I'm talking about being a shrewd businessman, Eric pops up. What's going on, Eric? What's going on, fam? How you doing, brother? Walking to the formation this morning. So yeah, so it's I'm drawing a hard line on that type of stuff too. Like, I'm not about to sit up and play with you. Like, if you don't want to be here, for one, I guess you also got to know and understand. Like, everyone continues to say, sports is a hard business. It's always, everything is business for the most part. So, but I myself would try to be one of those people that let it be known, understand if you were going to be able to get, if we was going to be able to pay you, what we was looking at paying you, if we really plan to pay you, this is what we're going to do. Just give me the time. If you can't give me the time, then I get it. You know what I'm saying? Do what you got to do. But I would try to be that person that's on the up and up, but be keeping it a buck with you. If you're not looking like you cutting the mustard, you're gonna know, hey, bruh, this is what we're looking at. I would be that person that sit up and be like that 100 GM or that 100 front office guy. So it's like, this is where you stand. So there's understood. So when it comes to dealing with me, there's an understanding that this is where I'm at with it. We're not going to go left or right. You ain't got to sit up and wonder. You ain't got to wonder what about the business. We have an open line to where we have a communication. That's just what it is. So, because now what you have is a failure of communication. First sign of any drop off from Kelsey, he out of there too. I think Kelsey has played enough and has put himself in positions where he ain't got to worry about that. Or he get a warning and let him know like, hey, you ain't cutting it, bro. We finna start looking at this wide receiver, this wide receiver, tight end out of so and so or something like that. So yeah, but yeah, it's just one of those things. So, but I'm very sure it's a slippery slope. It goes off on both ways. It goes both ways for the most part. So it remains to be seen. So over the weekend, additionally, there was a Zoom call. There was a Zoom call that was that was planned and put together by running back Austin Eckler of the Los Angeles. I keep on getting ready to San Diego of the Los Angeles Chargers, to where he had invited certain brethren, those brethren being that of the running back nation, put together, yeah, our running backs are pissed. Put together a Zoom room to talk about the state of the running back in the league. It is said that there were top running backs. I don't want to say someone that was there, that wasn't there, and all that type of stuff. But there was, who we know wasn't there was Zeke. Ezekiel Elliott was there. But of course, there were Saquon Barkley was there. Of course, we know Saquon is currently dealing with his situation to where he's not showing up to camp. He didn't get an extended deal. He didn't even sign the franchise tag. Saquon Barkley, Derrick Henry, Josh Jacobs, another running back in the same boat as Saquon Barkley, Jonathan Taylor, Christian McCaffrey, Tony Pollard was in the same situation as Saquon and Josh Jacobs, but he signed his tenure, so of course he's in camp for 1 year, $10 million. Nick Chubb, the last running back to get 10 plus on the contract 2 years ago. Najee Harris, Aaron Jones, Joe Mixon, who just took a pay cut in order to stay relevant in Cincinnati, and J.K. Dobbins, who doesn't really get any burn whatsoever because of injuries in Baltimore. So that was a list of players that were supposedly, I don't know if there's other players that were invited and just didn't get a chance to show up, per Dov Kleiman, the NFL and the analyst insider. Like I said, Ezekiel Elliott wasn't there. Austin Eckler planned the Zoom meeting. But what is it that can be done? One thing that was supposedly stated by Nick Chubb is that what is it exactly that we can do? Are we going to be like the writers and have a sit out? How valuable is the running back currently in this day and age in the league? I really honestly figure and think that it comes down to, which we're going to have a conversation in a second, and looking at it about the running back at this particular time, in my personal opinion, is more so predicated on the fact of how effective you are to the offense of your organization. It's not about the position in general, right? Because the running back isn't like a quarterback, right? We all realize that the quarterback, regardless of who they are and what they do, they are the beginning, a heartbeat of a team. Not heartbeat. They are the key component. Excuse me, I'm so sorry. They are the key component to a team, ensuring that the team's success makes or break the team's success to a degree. We discuss how you can't have a mediocre quarterback and expect to be anything more than what that is. A quarterback goes as a player does. What Drunk say, remember when your boy Debo raised hell about nothing being classified as a running back. But that's true, Drunk. But however, he, in that aspect, he was key to the offense. And so that's why I go back to saying you got to be key to your offense. Like when we look at all the names in which I just said, Nick Chubb is key to his offense. Najee Harris is key to his offense, in my opinion. Derrick Henry, key to his offense. We see what happened when Jonathan Taylor didn't play last year. So you can assume he's key to his offense. Evidently, Tony Pollard, although so much is given to him, he's not key to that offense, because when you look at it as they release Zeke to give Tony a franchise tag, right? That's not there. Evidently, the running back isn't going to be the key focus point of their offense, unless it comes to that. Saquon Barkley, you would think. I think there's a change in the guard there. They went and got, of course, we know they went and picked up a couple of wide receivers. The last wide receiver which they picked up was what's his name from Buffalo. Now he's back with the ball. It'll come to me in a second, but he's there. And then of course they Saquon, they went and got some insurance and picked up the old running back from Jacksonville that had a good year. So it's some moves being made, and you're replaceable. Is honestly what I'm still just starting to see. That's all graph that shows running backs make less than kickers now on average. It potentially, I wouldn't got running back by committee. Nick Chubb said running backs, the only position that more they produce, the lower they value is because of mileage. So I wouldn't necessarily agree with Chubb. Of course, he's probably most likely a subject matter expert on it more than I am. But it's, again, I think it comes down to the team and the organization. And I think it comes down to the team and the organization, really, on what the utilization of it is at that position. At this point, I'm very sure Christian McCaffrey is highly valued and highly touted. Hell, San Francisco has been one of the only teams to consistently pay top dollar to a fullback because he could be used in other ways. So it really depends upon, it truly, in my opinion, depends upon the offense in which you ran on in regard to how that goes. Because then someone, my man John Walker broke up a good point. He's like, all those he's like, all the running backs that was on that phone call, on that Zoom call. He's like, when you look at it, the last 10 or 11 Super Bowls that have been played, the starting running backs was Isaiah Pacheco, Cam Akers, Leonard Fournette, Damian Williams, Sony Michel, LeGarrette Blount, Deion Lewis, C.J. Anderson, Shane Vereen, Marshawn Lynch, and Ray Rice were the wide receivers, the running backs for the last 11 Super Bowl teams. None of them were on that call. And out of all these running backs, which I just stated, but also opposite side of that, out of all the running backs which I just talked about, Leonard Fournette is currently without a job. As Drunk just brought up, of course, Dalvin Cook getting released is still one of the craziest things to me. Dalvin Cook is one of those running backs. Leonard Fournette is another one of the running back. Ezekiel Elliott and Kareem Hunt, currently in NFL running backs. That was top tier. That's safe to be said. That didn't get a payday, it isn't on the roster and currently waiting, right? So this morning, as I was doing a little research, I came across something in the NFL to where it's discussed, and it was something I was thinking about over the weekend. So it just so happened I came across it, is to maybe even give validity to my standpoint is running backs that are the engine to their team, right? Them being in the offense continues to push the offense to where it goes to new heights, right? So some of the running backs that came across that field, 10 running backs that are the engine to their organization, which I don't understand some of this, or maybe we do know the answer to this going forth. Like, so first, of course, Saquon Barkley for the New York Giants, Christian McCaffrey for the San Francisco 49ers, Derrick Henry for the Tennessee Titans, Alvin Kamara for the New Orleans Saints, Jonathan Taylor for the Indianapolis Colts, Nick Chubb, Cleveland Browns, Aaron Jones for the Green Bay Packers, Josh Jacobs for the Las Vegas Raiders, Najee Harris for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and last but not least, interestingly enough, after just 1 year, Dameon Pierce for the Houston Texans are considered the top 10 running backs that are, oh my goodness, I think I'm starting to get allergies, are the top 10 running backs for enough organizations and are considered the engine for that organization. And those names in which I just read off, I deeply and sincerely agree with. There are the wind beneath the wings of some of their offense. Without them in the fray, the offense probably would go awry. Some have been seen. It has been evident of that because either one, the offense wasn't that productive before they got there, or two, if they wasn't there, the offense or the team didn't produce anything. What's good? What's going on there, brother threefold? My frat brother, how's going on, man? How you doing this morning? The champ baby, Clinton Portis trade would be a blasphemous trade today. So I don't think it would be drunk. The cornerback is more of a value position. Excuse me. Is more of a value position. It would be blasphemous in the case of the Washington Redskins pushing that. That would be very blasphemous. But right now, cornerback is a value. The cornerback is more of a value position than the quarterback. So it depends. It really depends. But those teams, like I said, it comes down to, in my opinion, that really comes down to the simple fact of who is valued the most, or your value is based upon that of your organization and not that of your position. Christian McCaffrey, huge value. Even though we have a still running back by committee, but Christian McCaffrey, huge value. Saquon Barkley, I'm very sure is a huge value, but I think the difference is with Saquon Barkley is his injury history. I think that's the reason why he's not getting that top dollar. They tried to pay him a good dollar. He didn't want it. He didn't like the guarantee and all this type of stuff. So it went into a different stuff. Now he's currently unsigned, and they're looking at the James Robinson. That's who they brought in. James Robinson currently got brought into just before camp gets ready to start. And not to mention there's a plethora of other running backs that's out there. So James Robinson currently is in the fray. So, but like I said, Saquon Barkley, I really think it's about the injuries. Najee Harris, we see, is a bell cow. He comes in and all the stuff in which he was doing in Pittsburgh. So right now, he's of value in that organization. And to that coach, so true, and again, drunk. I think you're picking up what I'm putting down. That goes back to what I continue to say. He is of value to in the San Francisco offense, even with his injury history. He is a huge value to the San Francisco offense. Christian McCaffrey is an all-purpose back that can get it for you any way you can. Another person in that same fold, who was he just on the list in which I read? Alvin Kamara. Another all-purpose back that can get it for you as you can, to where he might be of value if he was looking at another year in which he got to get paid. Although they do have a serviceable back that they just brought in. Again, Drunk, you might be right. I want to go over that because Najee was supposed to be a Trojan, but he decided to go to Atlanta. But I'm going to go over that in my head as I sit here thinking we continue to have this conversation. Again, a basic bell cow, but that is what is key in the Pittsburgh organization offense. A bell cow running back. Now, if they can get the wide receivers to get in line and pick it to be productive, then they got something going. But yes, Najee is your basic bell cow running back, but that is key in the Pittsburgh offense. Bell cow Le'Veon Bell, bell cow running back. Where was he at? He was in Pittsburgh. When he held out for his money, Pittsburgh was able to still be productive without Le'Veon Bell, without Brown, and they made it work because yet still again they are 15 years into a winning season, consecutive winning seasons. So obviously they were productive after the fact without him. But bell cow running backs have been what has been a staple in that over in Pittsburgh. So that's where it's at for the most part. And hence the reason why he's on the list, because he's another one that makes the engine go well. If he wasn't being a basic bell cow running back, then Pittsburgh probably would have lost in last year and wouldn't have been productive in state. Like I said, so Josh Jacobs, I won't get to. I see your question, Junk. I won't get to it. Josh Jacobs, another one who Devontae Adams himself came out and said and stood up for his teammate and saying, y'all need to pay this man because our team doesn't go anywhere without him. So it's bigger than just, it's definitely got to have it to where some people got to stand up and say, yo, we need him. We need him. Devontae Adams, who basically just went through the same thing where he watched the team basically put together a package to keep a quarterback that did not want to be there and didn't want to be around. It wasn't going. They watched him, put him on the back burner to put that quarterback up on a pedestal above him. So he asked to be traded after the fact. And he was in that situation. So now here you have the same situation, just it isn't him. It's Josh Jacobs, to where he's not getting paid. Everyone else has gotten paid around him, and you don't want to sit up and give him an extension. You'd rather pay him on a lease program. That's basically what the franchise tag is a lease program. You'd rather pay him just over $10 million as opposed to put him in a multi-contracted deal that would give him some security and let him go from there. So Devontae Adams came to his defense and said, pay him, basically in the sense, we need to pay him. So going back to Drunk's question, how I feel about J.K. Dobbins. How I feel about J.K. Dobbins is he has been injured for the majority of his career, and now there are running backs that have shown durability over the course of the year that's probably better than J.K. Dobbins. And I probably would, if I was a GM, I'd probably be going after one of them and basically getting ready to send J.K. Dobbins on about his way. Especially when you have Dalvin Cook, who once was a problem with injuries, but hasn't been the last couple of years. Bell Cow and Leonard Fournette. Yeah, I think JK, although he has some promise, I think I would be done with JK. But he gets opportunity. We're going to see what he takes, what he got, and how effective he is. Some Raiders fans, they hope Josh Jacobs is out so they can get Caleb Williams. So no, I do not think. You know what, Jordan? You have basically opened Pandora's box. So I have sitting up here and been thinking about what the market is for Caleb Williams going next year. We just seen a frenzy. We even just seen where first round pick Bryce Young signs his deal with the Panthers that netted him $37.9 million for 4 years, 5 years. I don't know. Was it 4 or 5 years? Let me see. I think the actual number. But it's so. With that being said, we've seen 5 quarterbacks go in the first round just a year ago, right? 5 quarterbacks go in the first round or in the first 2 rounds. That's 5 out of 32 teams, which equates to 28 teams remaining. Out of the 28 teams remaining, how many of those teams need a quarterback for real? Now that you say it, I can understand that possibly, maybe Las Vegas, pending what happens with Jimmy Garoppolo, who just got cleared, you know, saying, so he will be in training camp to be able to build some type of rapport with his quarterbacks. But Caleb Williams, what is the market for Caleb Williams next year? Honestly, when you look at it, 4-year deal. So Bryce Young signs a 4-year deal, 37.9 million, almost 10 million a year for a rookie quarterback, which includes, of course, a just over 24 million signing bonus, and is fully guaranteed. So he's going to get 37 million guaranteed off the rip. 37 million off the rip. 4 years, 37, which means in 3 years he's going to be looking at potentially at a extension. If he plays well, we'll see if he gets that extension. So got it. So he got that. That's the bag in which he got for being the number 1 overall pick. So yes, Caleb may be an upgrade over half the league, but who is going, like, when you look at it, right? All right, I'll do this. Caleb Williams. Say that well, I guess now let's start to think about it. Some other teams come to play. But let's say, I'm trying to find the right team because to put out there. Well, I guess, you know what? I guess there is a market for him. Because I'm about to say that the Denver Broncos are the number 1 draft pick, having a number 1 draft pick. Are you drafting Caleb Williams? And so I had to think, like, yes, I am drafting Caleb Williams if that is the case, because he don't have to start. He can sit and learn. So I guess there is a market for Caleb Williams. You say the Bucks, true. I can understand that. The Raiders, I don't think the Raiders are there yet. The Rams to sit, Seahawks to sit, Pittsburgh maybe not. But yeah, you're right. You're right, Drunk. I understand. I was wondering as of last week. I was thinking, like, where would he go? But there are plenty organizations for him to go to. Green Bay, depending on what happens with Jordan Love. So I guess I was caught up in the culture of where you get drafted and you're expected to start off the rip, and that's not necessarily the case. It makes sense for it in some instance that you sit and get some tutelage. But yes, definitely the Seahawks. If Geno Davis doesn't do well, Seahawks could be a team. I don't think Pittsburgh yet. I don't think they're going to pull the trigger on that. But the Rams, to have him come and sit behind Matt Stafford to sit up and develop and watch, that's different. The Bucks, definitely, possibly. The Raiders, probably so. I wouldn't do that. Yeah, like I said, Green Bay. Say you've got Green Bay exists. So yeah, so it's a possibility. It's definitely a possibility out there. So I forgive me, Drunk. I'm sorry. I lost that. Just the way you say, it's funny. People say running backs got no value, but Bills fans in shambles over Raheem Hines season-ending injury. So I think it's more about Raheem Hines being a fan favorite, because Raheem being a fan favorite. But does one of the running backs in which I mentioned earlier, do they get an opportunity now? So the market is always going to be there, and hence this is what we go back into. Hines season in the injury. Running backs position is an endangered species that has no one to protect it and isn't getting big value for the capture of it. That's just what it is, and that goes to show with Hines, he's going to get replaced. Someone else is going to get an opportunity because of his demise. And that's what it is with the running back market. I think, honestly, that's what's going on. So, and which is cool. Would I be on the same stuff? I don't know. Am I going to not go to a place because I don't want to take runs from my brother when I'm trying to have a livelihood? I think, you know what? I think I would agree with Naheem. I mean, I think I would agree with Dalvin. I wouldn't want to go to Buffalo either, because you know what I'm saying, it's a difference if I was a wide receiver and my brother was a running back. But if for us to be the same position, I don't want to go. I want him to shine, especially when I've been in the league longer and I have had opportunity. I want him to shine, continue to shine. So I could completely agree with Dalvin in that case. Um, Chris Jones wants 30 mil per year. Oh yeah, see, and it be that type of stuff too, bruh. Like you're not like what defensive end is getting 30 million a year? Is it? I would go to Sports Track to take a look, but nah, come on, man. But again, I can't sit up and say that a person's value is not that of what they should be receiving. That is not for me to say. We don't want to be counting my man's pockets, tapping pockets, but let's be the sensible, you know what I'm saying? Or some of it just be a power play. But sensibly, is Chris Jones worth 30 million? Probably at a 4-year clip, 4 to 5 years. That's probably why he's looking for 100 and something million, 4 to 5 years, which puts him in the 30 million of what's called, with additionally like a guarantee of 98 million or something like that. 130 for 4 years, 90 million guaranteed. Or you're saying in some case, I'm sure if he's looking for 30 million as a 30 million, that he's probably looking for a guaranteed contract as well, which has nothing wrong with it. Like I said, it just becomes reality. Reality is what it is, and what we have to keep in mind. So you know what's wrong, Keith? That might be exactly why you said like why he's out there, or one, he's going to come to grips and realize like, oh no, that's not what's going to get it. But let's see how close we can get to that. So it's just, you know what I'm saying, it's going to see. You want to end up seeing, of course. Going back into the injury bug. Now that season's getting with the camps have started. Tony leaves practice from the Chiefs wide receiver, knee injury. So yet again, you know, same situation is going to dictate. Or the thing is that the NFL culture breeds. Injuries is a part of the game, and with those injuries, what happens is those injuries, depending on how severe they are or aren't, will put in position the opportunity for someone else to get an opportunity to show what it is they got. Here's the reason why they have reserves and backups. All you have to do is wait your time. Additionally, the CJ Gardner, for the Lions, carted off practice. Another player had a situation going on, so everyone gets opportunity once someone else takes ill or falls down. Someone else comes to pick them back up, and that's basically where you have that you put in all type of positions. So it's just one of those things, and I think that's one of the reasons why, going back to that in the running back market, is the running backs take a lot of hits, and Sorry about that for a second. There's a little technical difficulty. So back to what I was saying. I was rambling, but the other drunk said I was froze. So Deshaun Watson, Cleveland Browns. Is this now the opportunity for us to see what everyone has been clamoring to see, what everyone was talking about, what got Deshaun Watson paid the type of money but he got paid, even though he was going through a tumultuous season in his life? Will this year now, basically, I guess you could say a year and a half, because he did get an opportunity to play a couple of games under him. What will we see now in Cleveland now that Deshaun has had a full year to process things, go over things, take a look at things, and be able to go play now? What do we see now from Deshaun Watson? Is it going to be a season in which the Browns are a playoff contender? Is that what we get to see? Or is it too early to say yet? Because we got to take into consideration, yes, but LeBron, he is, I'm gonna call him LeBron. He is just coming off of that year, being out of the league for a couple of years, and now getting played, now putting himself in position. Is it wrong to expect to see greatness from Deshaun Watson right off the rip, or what's the over under on seasons in which he's going to need to get back to the player that he was? Or was he gone too long from the game to where now he's not going to be able? No one's talking on any downfall, but I think it's a lot of players out there that now when we look at it, for them to make to have some things to prove, anything less than 2-round playoff Browns to the bus. Second round playoffs? Way too much talent on the roster. Okay, drunk. I'll give you that. I won't fight you on that one. They are a pretty talented roster, so I will completely agree with you tenfold with that. Are a pretty talented roster, but there's a bunch of players when I look at it, kind of in which now if Mike Vick can't get out of prison and clown Deshaun should be good. Two different type of players. Drunk. Vic was cut different, in my opinion. He was cut different. So, but I understand what you're saying, but definitely two players cut different. But looking at now, I start to think about it. How many quarterbacks, let's say specifically quarterbacks, how many quarterbacks out there have something that they have to prove, in my opinion, this year? Of course, every quarterback that's changed markets. So that's Jimmy Garoppolo, Derek Carr, Aaron Rodgers, Jimmy Garoppolo, Aaron Rodgers, Derek Carr. Three that come off my mind off the rip. To which means presumably that players in other markets, who are from the players that took over where they left, have something to prove. That means, Jimmy Garoppolo is one and the same. Jordan Love. You think Aaron Rodgers has the most to prove? He Sauce gave his own chain. He did give him a chain. I thought he was going to have to give him something that says bad man, but he gave him an 8, iced out 8. So I don't know. I don't think it's Aaron though. I don't think Aaron is the quarterback with the most to prove. Just like I say, you also got Jordan Love, Geno Smith got a bag, so he has something to prove. Derek Carr coming in, he's going to have something to prove, especially after going off that random stuff he did in the disc abomination in Las Vegas. And then now he's in the Big Easy, taking over for Jameis Winston. So I don't know if he has a lot to prove, but I'm very sure there's something in there to prove. Does Baker Mayfield have anything to prove? Is it going to be Baker Mayfield? Does he have to prove that he could be out Kyle Trask? or that he can compete still. Who else? Sam Darnold or Brock Purdy. Is there something to be, or Trey Lance? Like, we got three. Oh my God, we got three quarterbacks in our system. In which, so is there anything to be? Does any of them have anything to prove? Brock Purdy, and does he need to? Well, yes, they do. Sam Darnold needs to prove that he was drafted third overall 4 or 5 years ago, that he is worthy of that draft. Brock Purdy has to prove that what he did last year was no fluke, and he was built for that. Even though he was Mr. Irrelevant a year ago, that, you know, saying that he took the team to a berth in the NFC Championship game, and he did not get an opportunity to finish off that. Does he have something to prove? I'm sure he does. And of course, Trey Lance has everything to prove at this point, because he's the one that's basically being dwindled and dangled and drugged. He said Justin Fields talked big this summer. He might got something to prove. I do. I think Justin, he does. Justin Fields has something to prove. I wish Justin was actually a quarterback we drafted as opposed to Trey Lance, but you go with it. Baker got nothing to prove. He's just a journeyman now. He has something to prove in Carolina. Okay, so basically saying his proving days is gone. Now he's just a journeyman that's looking for opportunities to basically get on to stay on, which he's in his best situation, I think, being in Carolina. I mean, being in Tampa Bay, because if he doesn't show improve there, then of course on to the next, and then he'll continue on until it just be another Oklahoma bust. What's crazy is almost every quarterback in the league outside of Mahomes got something to prove. You know what, Drunk? You just might be correct, brother. I think you might be onto something, because everyone's going to be looking over the shoulders. There's always seemingly going to be the next man up. I think even Patrick Mahomes still has to be able to prove. He has to be able to validate the contract in which he got. So I don't even think Patrick Mahomes is safe. I think he's safe in the aspect of he's not got to worry about looking over his shoulder in Kansas City, because everyone that there is just a backup to set the pace if he's gone. But I definitely think that he has more to prove, or he has to continue to prove. Like, he doesn't have to prove that he's a top tier quarterback. He's an MVP. That stuff is proven, but I think he has eternally. He has to be able to continue to validate why they gave him that contract in state. That's what I think is more so that contract is well earned. I think if one more Super Bowl, or even just one more Super Bowl, and maybe one more Super Bowl appearance, he's good. He ain't got nothing to worry about. Correct. Yeah, Trevor Lawrence, and it goes back to just like the conversation we was having in reference to Caleb Williams, Drunk, to where it's definitely a situation to where players are going to continue to come in and be ready. I just got here. This is not, stop that, Randall. Haley, stop it, Haley. Haley, you know, Haley, I'm gonna keep this stamped in my head. Maybe not today, but I'm gonna keep it stamped in my head. Haley said Baker Mayfield would have an MVP season. I'm gonna keep that in my head, so that way, if it happens, I could be like, you know what? Haley said Baker Mayfield was going to be that dude. And I know Bishop is going to jump on your bandwagon too and be like, yeah, you know what I'm saying? Them boom, soon, or something like that, which they produce trash quarterbacks in the league. I'm so worried for Caleb Williams because he has Booner Sooner in his blood. But then again, Jalen Hurts did too. But I digress. Don't want to get too far off that. But yeah, so Trevor Lawrence, as we was just talking about earlier, Drunk, is that definitely there's always going to be someone new coming in that's going to be able to push the pace, and you got to look over your shoulder. If you're not being productive, then you become a person potentially that's going to have something that's going to go awry for you. I said Jameis would win MVP last year. Boy, was I wrong. Well, Jameis didn't really get a chance in a sense, Drunk. I don't know how you thought that, though, additionally, now I think about it, but he really didn't get too much of a chance. Excuse me, due to he was due to the injuries and stuff like that. I had hard regard for the Saints more so than Jameis Winston. Coming off the season that he had when he was injured and looking at him getting, I thought he was going to be, I thought that was going to happen, but no. So I guess I could see, I definitely didn't think MVP season. I just thought I thought New Orleans was going to be a whole problem. Not like I thought they were going to be a problem. I think they're going to be a problem this year for their division, but I thought New Orleans was going to be a problem for the league last year, in which that didn't happen. But I think for their division, I think New Orleans is going to definitely be a huge situation, a huge problem going forward. So definitely that to come into play when you look at it. So yeah, so but it comes when it comes breaks down. Basically, it is everyone needs to look over their shoulder for the most part. All quarterbacks potentially, especially when you have people that's top tier talent they believe to come in. Potentially, Caleb Williams can win a back-to-back Heisman trophies, being that he can stay healthy and they can continue to produce throughout the year. Maybe get to another CFP. Maybe get to, I'm sorry, not another CFP, maybe get to the CFP, then we might see something to where, yeah, you might have Caleb Williams' number getting called again, holding up yet another Heisman Trophy, 2 back-to-back, doing what we do in USC, and putting that and being able to take that. But again, also, he would need to be very productive. And looking at it, I think it's going to be hard. Said Cole's issues only Alex Grinch. I think Wayne, I really, really, really believe that he can overcome that. I really think that he's going to be. I said and think that it's going to be hard, but I also think it's going. It's like a very it's like oxymoronic, right? I think he's going. I think he's going to. I think he has. Well, let's say it like this. I think he has a good chance of being a back-to-back Heisman Trophy winner, right? I'm very. I think he's going to be able to do that, but I think it's going to be hard for him to do that because I haven't even looked to see who potentially could beat any of his competition. And I sit up and continue to think about had he not got injured in the Pac-12 championship game last year, we would have been in the CFP last year. But of course, we was cooking Utah. He got hurt. He became one-dimensional, and then they just sat back and watched. So he said, "Now if we go 10-2, we have ass defense." I think Alex Grinch. It's unfortunate that it would be this last year in which I know Lincoln Riley retains him, but I think it would be unfortunate to waste Caleb's last year because we know he's not going to stay past this year unless he was. Well, I don't think he's staying past this year regardless. It would be unfortunate for them to waste his last year because Grinch was retained and he couldn't sit up and tout a better defense, right? But I think we're gonna be good, Coach Wayne. I think we're gonna be good. I'm hoping we're gonna be good. I won't even hold you. I hope we're gonna be good. Even the rookies gotta look over the shoulders. You see how fast Silas was now. Malik Willis. Well, Malik Willis was just as trash as the defense in which we're talking about for the most part. So I don't know if Malik Willis and it goes like there's no cooking. What we realized and what is to be seen. Jaden Daniels from LSU and Quinn Ewers from Texas Creases and Fire. Okay, I'll give you Daniels, but I don't know if Daniels is going to be the same person which we just seen last year. We still got my man from Kansas who wasn't paid, who no one was looking after. We do have Bullock, best safety since military Mays. I think we can hold the average of 30. That's what we need. Our offense. Jaden can't throw. What's my man from? He was a front runner initially, or he was doing damage in Kansas. He got injured. I just seen him the other day. So yeah, it's some people out there. I just don't know if they're gonna if we can do what we if we can replicate what we did with a hint or a splash of better defense. We're going to the CFP. I'm not going to be just out to say that we're going to win the CFP. That we being the Trojans, but. Drake May. All right, you're right. Drake May. I'll give you that. So yeah. Again, I don't know if they're going to. So they may be on the list, but are they going to produce? That's where we lie. That's where it's at. They may be on the list, but can they outplay Caleb Williams? If Caleb Williams was to go and replicate last year's season, even to the smallest, are they able to compete with Mays? I mean, are they able to compete with Williams? And that's where we don't go. Hell, his old predecessor might get back on the list again, in which compete where he might have had Rattler. Rattler might be back on the list again, but are they able to replicate or even remotely do what it is that what Williams did last year? And that's where I think we're safe at. I think Williams, or at least he'll be a Heisman hopeful. All you gotta do is get through the season. Hopefully he doesn't get through going. Hopefully Lincoln protects him and lets him know like you don't have to go out there and win the Heisman. We just need you to play, so that way everything comes naturally, and any dominance in which we push is what is going. However, throwing tomorrow. He said whoever throwing to Marvin Harris Jr. Who is it? Who is that back up there? I don't know. Who's Ohio State's backup? Ohio State starting wide receiver. I mean, Kyle McCord, is it? Kyle McCord or Devin Brown, one of them is they expected to be named. But they have 6 in, Kyle McCord. Yes, sir. So it remains to be seen. But for me, of course, it is not just as a fan. I think Caleb Williams is a front runner, but of course, it's going to come in a couple of Saturdays. When does the college season start? Well, actually, what's really particular, I really prefer when is USC's first game. Mm-mm-mm-mm. 33 days. USC's first game, 33 days. Of course, it's against San Jose State, but of course, we can't look over no one. So August 26th. So the 26th in 4 weeks, is game time. Stop that, drunk. As you see, Shador wasn't even in the conversation. But what I will say is it's a possibility for him to play into it. But come on, drunk. Do you really? I mean, it's possible. Just from a standpoint that we don't want to sit up and say that he can't. But do you really feel that Shador Sanders is going to play himself into a Heisman hopeful conversation in the same conference as Caleb Williams? That would mean that Colorado would have to dominate the Pac-12. But maybe we do see Colorado versus USC in the Pac-12 championship in Las Vegas. That's a possibility, maybe. So I won't knock it. I won't knock it. It's a possibility. And that's another mental note, drunk. Even though I know you. No, we move next year. USC moves to the Big Ten next year. This is their last year in the Pac-12. Them and UCLA is last year in the Pac-12. so they could go out claiming the Pac-12 championship out the door, going on to the Big Ten. But yes, that's another middle note. Middle note: Shador drunk Shador Sanders over Caleb Williams for Heisman Trophy, or finished ahead of him Heisman Trophy. But we will see. It has been a great day and show rocking with y'all this morning. I just wanted to come in here and tap in. As y'all know, as I said, got a couple of appointments to get to as I get ready to get go and engage on Atlanta this weekend. If you are in the Atlanta area, please feel free to pull up, hit me up, and let me know that you're there, so you can pull up and come break bread with your boys and myself, Bishop, and our brothers in Cyber 5 Military Fraternity Incorporated. So we'll be down there having a good time, doing some community service. There's also so plenty of ways in which you can come and enjoy and take part in festivities. I may not be on tomorrow because I have another appointment. That's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. We might be able to have a show on Wednesday. Thursday I'll be traveling, but potentially Thursday as well. We'll see, but definitely won't be on tomorrow. So probably most likely look forward to seeing you again on Wednesday, and after Wednesday, possibly Thursday. I don't know what we'll do on Friday because I'll be in Atlanta. But of course, all you gotta do is be looking out. So greatly appreciate y'all rocking with me this morning. If there's something to be talked about, then we're gonna definitely talk about it. But until then, it's the beginning of the week. I hope y'all week is starting up graciously and everyone's engaged and locked in, getting ready to make it to yet another weekend, the end of another week. I bid y'all a good morning and hope everything goes great for you this week. Until then, it's your boy, Trey the Commish. I'm out of here. Peace.